Crowcoin is up 190% in the past 6 months as record amounts of this altcoin are being staked, record amounts are being burned, and Crypto.com has officially become the first global crypto operator to receive full regulatory approval for institutional investments from Dubai. You can expect to hear about all of this and how it may impact the price of Crowcoin in today's episode of the Everything Crypto Show. Now, before we hop into the content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor. I am simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do enjoy the content, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turn that notification bell on so you can be notified when all of our latest videos go live on the channel. So we're going to get right into today's altcoin of discussion, and that's going to be Crowcoin here, which, as we said, is up about 190% over the past 6 months, up about 47% year to date, and up 113% over the past 1 year. Now, it looks like Crypto.com is starting to deploy a strategy again that they were using through most of the bear market, which really was just to get as much regulatory approval as possible in preparation for massive volume and institutional as well as retail interest coming back into the space. And, we said throughout the bear market that this is a strategy I did believe would pay off, and that reflection would show in the price of the altcoin, of their native altcoin, Kronos. And it definitely has, over the past 6 months. We can see here that this thing bottomed out at about 5 cents, currently sits at about 14 cents. So we're looking at just under a 200% pump from its bear market bottom. And we're going to get into the technical side of things near the tail end of this video, but first, I do want to break down this Dubai news because I do think it's a bigger deal than it may appear to be on the surface, and it kind of comes down to the wording of the post. So I want to get into this. So they say here, we are excited to announce our full operational approval from Dubai's Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority. The Crypto.com exchange will be available for institutional investors as our first launch in the region. And exchange here is the big word, okay, because this is not to be confused with the main app. The Crypto.com exchange is more of their advanced trading platform that does also offer very juicy incentives for logging up Crow in the form of trading rebates. And if you are an institution, using millions of dollars to trade crypto, you most likely want to get any rebates that you can have. So this could drive a ton of institutional demand to Crowcoin itself. And we're going to discuss that more in depth. First, I do want to take a look at the actual post here. So they say here that their Dubai entity has received full operational approval from Dubai's Virtual Assets Regulatory Authority and is launching the CDC exchange for institutional investors as its first operational milestone. Available to institutional clients and qualified retail investors, the Crypto.com exchange, which has deep liquidity and a state-of-the-art matching engine, offers spot trading, staking, brokerage, and over-the-counter offers. So Crypto.com has also initiated plans for further in-market product launches expected in the coming months, including the Crypto.com main app and a focus on retail user-focused experiences. So we see Eric Anziani here, the president and COO of Crypto.com, saying we are thrilled to expand our presence and offering in the UAE with the support of Vera. Launching with our world-class exchange, institutional services will be fundamental to our continued growth and success in such a key market for our company. And this is actually following the news that we covered last week, where the app is going live in South Korea on April 29th. And retail users will have access to 150 plus cryptocurrencies securely and reliably. So, if we take a look here at this post, we can actually see that this is something they have been aiming for since 2022 when they did acquire the OKBit platform. And essentially, they will be ceasing operations on OKBit and then launching the Crypto.com app to replace it. So this took place in August 9th of 2022. That was basically a couple of months after we did see that massive flush out in June of the same year. And we were looking at Crypto.com and Crowcoin around this time, as we did see Crypto.com taking advantage and, either buying smaller crypto trading platforms or looking for regulatory approval. And it looks like here they were taking advantage of the cheaper valuations across the entire crypto sector. And they are now looking to actually make use of this investment by launching in South Korea. So that is definitely a big market for them as well. And we did see here that the general manager of their operations in the region says, "We believe our services will not only help evolve and empower commerce in Korea, but also support the greater creation and development of our Web3 ecosystem." So ironically, we actually saw this acquisition take place in August, and then we saw a lot of FUD hit Crypto.com. A lot of people saying that, this was following the FTX collapse, and people were basically targeting Crypto.com as sort of like the next exchange that they were looking to FUD. And we actually saw this altcoin drop from about 12 cents down to 5 cents here, as people were basically spreading rumors that they were going to be the next exchange to go bankrupt, to default, and they did not, in fact, do that, okay? However, the altcoin was still punished, dropping down from 12 cents to 5 cents, basically in the matter of a week. And, this is when we were really looking at this altcoin here that I did feel it presented a pretty interesting opportunity. I mean, it basically sold off on the fear that Crypto.com was going to go bankrupt, and then that never happened. So it really only made sense to me that the coin would at least come back up here to its prior levels before seeing that massive flush out. And it's already there at the moment. But, just to kind of show you guys that at the time, Crypto.com stayed focused there. They did continue acquiring smaller companies as well as getting that regulatory approval. And now we can kind of see them continuing to expand as retail users do flood back into the market. And in terms of the Crypto.com exchange specifically, in relation to Crowcoin, you can see here, this is the chart that basically shows you, depending on the amount of Crow you have locked up, there are some very juicy benefits here on the buying and selling fees. So you can see right here, if we actually take a look at the infographic, so 50,000 Crow to 100,000 Crow is going to net you 4% yield and 0 fee on the maker fees, 12% off on the taker fees. 100,000 Crow to 500,000 Crow is offering that 4% yield and a 0.01 basis point rebate on the maker fees, 15% off on the taker fees. And then 500,000 plus Crow is offering 8% yield, a 0.02 basis point rebate on trades, and then 20% off of the taker fees. And here's a full breakdown. If you actually go up, a million Crow gets you a 0.05 basis point rebate, and over 5 million gets you a 0.10 basis point rebate. So effectively getting more and more yield, as well as more actually rebates there on your trading, depending on the amount of Crow you do have locked up. And when I say locked up, what I am referring to here is the amount of this altcoin that is currently being staked on the network to generate passive income. We can see here that on the Chronos POS chain as well, we have about 9.04 billion Crow staked. And if we actually go over to CoinMarketCap and take a look at the circulating supply, we can see that it currently stands at about 26.5 billion. So that effectively means that about a third of the total supply is being staked on chain right now, and the yield currently being offered here sits at about 7.5%. So if you are a long-term holder of this altcoin, then you are being rewarded with that 7.5% yield. And I tend to believe that most people staking on the Chronos POS chain are long-term holders. Reason being is that if you actually want to unstake your Crow, you do not get it back right away. You have to go through a 28-day unbonding period. So, obviously the crypto market is very fast moving. Things can change in a matter of hours. In a matter of seconds, you can see some flash crashes take place. So I tend to believe that, it is also worth mentioning, that means you can also see big spikes up here in just a matter of seconds. And that's kind of why I tend to favor the thesis that people staking their Crow coin on this chain are long-term holders and are probably not in it to make a quick flip or a trade, because it is subject to that 4-week waiting period. So to see about a third of the circulating supply being staked here on the Chronos POS chain, that is bullish for the tokenomics in my opinion. I don't think it's the record. I think that it was a bit higher than this at one point, but we are at record amounts of this altcoin being burned, as the wallet, the community pool wallet, currently sits at 38.6 million. The first time that it hit the 50 million crow threshold is when we saw that burn take place for the first time, and we are nearing that 50 million threshold once again, which indicates to me that probably sometime around the early summer, maybe in a month and a half to 2 months, we will officially see the second 50 million burn take place, bringing the total up to 100 million crow coin burned. Now, additionally, I do want to take a look here at the Chronos POS, the Chronos chain as well, not the Chronos POS chain. This is the part of the Chronos ecosystem that does offer the dApps, the lending protocols, the DEXs, all that stuff. And it currently sits here with a TVL of 673 million, and that puts it in 14th place across all blockchains in terms of that total value locked. Now, this not initially, but at one point, this was in the top 10. It definitely has, fallen. I believe in one point it was like 7th place or 8th place at its sort of peak TVL relative to other chains. It currently sits down in 14th place, so falling about, 7 or 8 spots here. However, the bridge TVL makes a big difference, and I do think that bridged TVL is worth taking a look at, because this is both the Chronos POS and the Chronos chain combined. I've said it many times that I don't think you can value the TVL only based on the Chronos chain when the Chronos POS chain exists, and that is the bigger chain of the two, okay? So to see Chronos actually here, in 12th place there, if you factor the bridged TVL, in my opinion, does, paint a better picture for this chain as a whole. And it is worth noting that they do also have the Chronos ZK EVM, or the Chronos Hyperchain, which is set to launch in June. And I do believe that that could potentially be a big catalyst to help, further push Crowcoin up to that 20-cent level. If it's not there already when that Chronos Hyperchain does go live, or prior to it going live, rather. I do want to take a quick look at the charts to wrap things up, and reason being is we do see Crowcoin here. It is kind of consolidating after peaking out earlier. I believe this was in early April, or actually in early March, okay? And it is making a very similar pattern to what we saw the first time it moved to the upside. So let me just zoom in here. For some reason, TradingView is acting a little funky. Yeah, here we go. So we can see here that this brings us to about the 6-month period where Crowcoin is up 189%. If we take a look at where this first price range icon is, and Crowcoin did rally about 150%, give or take, from the 5-cent level up to about 12.5 cents before hitting some resistance there. We then saw this thing consolidate, actually move to the downside here. So from that peak it put in at about 12.5 cents, it did actually pull back from that range about 35%. It bounced off the bull market support band, and then boom, once again went on a nice run to the upside. And from that bounce off the bull market support band, this thing rallied, about 130%, give or take. Now, once again, we do see it making a very similar pattern where it is kind of shoveling to the downside, potentially giving an opportunity for the bull market support band to catch up to the price and then act as another area of support for a big move to the upside up to that 20-cent level. Additionally, I do think it's worth noting that the 12.5-cent range is relevant for this altcoin, as this is actually where it was, as we mentioned, in November of last year before it fell down to that 5-cent level. This is where it got rejected here on the initial run up. And then after breaking above it here on the second run-up of this bull market, we actually saw it backtest this as a level of support and bounce back above it. So, breaking prior resistance and backtesting it as support is, generally speaking, pretty bullish in my opinion. And zooming out for the next level of resistance, I am eyeing that 20-cent zone, okay? And if we pay attention to that 20-cent area, first of all, this was the last area of resistance here before we saw Crowcoin fall from 20 cents down to 12.5 cents, or down to 10 cents rather, and then from 10 cents down to 5 cents. But this was the big area of resistance for this altcoin. And then I do also want to take a look at the 5-year chart and show you guys that this also was the big area of support for this coin. Let me actually get Yeah, here we go. So this also was resistance for Crowcoin before it broke out and went on that run for all-time highs up to $1. And also again here in April of 2021, so prior to that big run up that happened later in the year. 20 cents, I mean, even going back to 2020, right? Like there's a lot of price action, a lot of resistance at the 20-cent area. So I do believe that is kind of like the next magnet for the price action in my opinion. And on that note, I hope you did enjoy the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.